So let's talk about drawing the eye with charcoal. So I wanted to kind of show you guys a kind of like tips for mastering how to draw the eye, things that I tend to look for when it comes to the way the shadows kind of fall over the eye, the highlight of the eye, how to create depth within the eye. And so I did this quick little demo here. This is about 50 minutes, start to finish. Starting to work a little bit on where the ear is going to be and all that. I'm going to run it back. We're going to rewind it and we're going to start from the beginning, and I'm going to show you guys how I got to this point. Awesome. So let's rewind. So starting with pan pastel, I want to think about what are the large areas within the eye, right? What's the placement of the eye? So using that sense of the CAM system, which is that idea that I'm kind of composing onto my piece of paper that I have, my toned paper. Where is the eye going to sit? Where's the top of the brow going to be? Where's the upper lid going to fall? Where is kind of maybe just loosely where the pupil is going to kind of, not the pupil, the iris going to sit within the eye. And all this stuff is going to slightly change, but this kind of gives me this kind of framework to work around as I start to develop it. And so what I'm using is that pan pastel and an eraser. The eraser I'm using here is a Mono Tombow 0. In case you guys are curious, I have all my materials on my website on Kassan, davidkassan.com. So thinking about where the iris is going to sit, which is kind of my anchor point for the drawing. Thinking about just throwing in the ball of the eye, right? So the iris is kind of the representation of the circle of the ball of the eye. And then we have the upper lid that goes over top of that, which acts almost as a kind of like a windshield, you know, a windshield wiper for the eye, kind of keep dust out and everything. And so get that upper lid in there. And I'm using right now a medium charcoal pencil from General Pencils. Where's my wife calls this the waterline. I guess that might be a makeup term. It's actually the canthus, which is like a ledge of the underlid of the eye. So you have your upper lid and you have your lower lid. And the lower lid is really amazing because that's where a lot of the light, if you have a top-down lighting configuration, almost like Rembrandt lighting, the bottom part of that canthus will really hit the light. And also because it's moist, it'll reflect really brightly. And so I'm going to show you guys how we get to those lights as we work. Something that's really interesting, I might be doing a video here soon on charcoal drawing and what I've learned from looking at old masters that did toned paper chalk drawings. So this is charcoal, but the white pencil that I use is kind of, they call it white charcoal from Generals, but I think it's a chalk pencil somehow. And so the way that the chalk lays over top of the charcoal is really beautiful, and I totally recommend it. The paper that I'm using for this is a toned paper from, let me go find it. It's a company called Paint On, Claire Fontaine Paint On Gray Mixed Media paper right here. Hold up to the camera so you guys can see it's a mixed media paper. So far I'm really liking how it works. It's a little warmer than the De La Roni paper that I used to use. So coming in here, I use a blending stump to help me draw, kind of developing what's that underlid doing. And at this stage, it's really just kind of blasting in large areas and softening them so that these lines that I have that I use in the very beginning to kind of find things disappear eventually. Thinking about that upper part of the brow. The brow is really interesting because it kind of starts on the top of the bone of the brow ridge and then goes underneath the eye into the orbital cavity where the eye sits, which is really nice. It's not just a straight line. There's a movement to it. It kind of drapes, the brow drapes over top of the form, just as light would. Coming with a soft brush to take away anything that I've erased. I'm going to kind of fast forward through here. This is about a 50-minute demo, and I'm going to post the demo onto the Patreon page that I have. So I have a Patreon page. I think it's $5 a month. You can have full access to all the raw footage that I film for these videos. The edit of this is about 50 minutes, and I'm going to post that onto Patreon pretty soon. The thing that I'm running into is that upload speeds aren't great. So coming in again with the medium general's pencil to redefine what's going on with the upper lid, pulling in some of the darks here under that plane, and really thinking about the ball of the eye in the space, right? So I'm thinking about having my pencil follow that sense of form as it pulls forward. And as we get this line here, meets with the eye right about there. And so this is I'm kind of plotting out where things go, just making notes, thinking about where that shape goes to. I love to use a blending stump, which is attached to a General Pencil's pencil holder. They make these pencil holders that basically make it so your pencil can extend, pencil extenders. They're pretty amazing. I think I have probably like a dozen of them around my studio that I'm always taking. If I get a charcoal white that's too close to the base, I extend it. And also, even if I have a full pencil that's sharp, I extend it even there because I want very subtle movements and pressure onto the point. So it's really great. So coming in here and softening it out. Again, all those lines that I put in originally, I tend to work the darks into the paper. So I tend to work darks to lights, as you can see. Coming back in, measuring out, making sure I got everything in the right place. How does this shape follow this form? Where does that go with the other resting tension lines within the eye? So it's not just thinking of like the ball of the eye, the upper lid. I'm really thinking about the orbital cavity and the eye socket, essentially, that the eye is kind of sitting in. And I think that's an important aspect to understand, is that you're not just drawing one eye, irrespective of everything else that's around it. You want to get a sense of the context of the eye to capture a lot of the depth of the eye. Coming here, just kind of making the dark for where I think the iris is going to be. I'm sorry, where the pupil is going to be. Coming in with the dark. Kind of shaping out where the brow comes in. What's that height? Again, using the blending stump to, again, push the dark into the paper. And then I soften out. I'm constantly softening out my drawing to, I always think of it as putting my darks into the atmosphere, into the depth of the drawing, so that I can start to pull out the light, almost sculpturally. And at the same time, I'm double checking all of my marks, seeing if I have everything in the right place proportionally, drawing out from different areas, still making notes, but slowly developing what I have. So I'm going to kind of speed up here a little bit, kind of show you guys thinking about these cross contours. So softening things up, I start coming in with the eraser to think subtractively within the drawing. And then again, I'm using the Mono Tombow 0, which is, it's a white eraser. It's got a white quote unquote lead to it that has which is really strong and has really a lot of integrity. And so you can erase really, really well with it. And again, you can use it as a drawing tool. Even though it's an eraser, I use it to sculpt out, quote unquote, the lights. Now, as we talk about when we do charcoal drawings on toned paper, is the lightest light that we can get with this eraser right now is a midtone. So if our paper is a 5, value 5, and our lightest light is a 10, and our darkest dark is a 0, the lightest light that we can get with an eraser when we haven't added white to the paper yet is a 5. Coming in here thinking about the movement and rhythm of the brow, as well as the distance of the height of where the brow is coming in underneath that plane of the eye, underneath the into the orbital cavity, underneath the brow ridge, and then kind of coming in and darkening up a little bit of that upper lid. And I can come in with the eraser here just to kind of sculpt out where I see a little bit of light peeking through. I'm gonna go through here a little bit. We're about halfway through the demo. I guess it's about 10 minutes. I'm gonna make this probably about a 20-minute kind of quick lesson on the eye for you guys. Coming in here and kind of sculpting out the sclera a little bit. Again, with that monotombo 0. I want to think about going over top of the edge of the iris as well. So I'm not worried about keeping the consistency of the color of the iris all the time, all the way throughout, because I want that edge to have kind of a liquidy softness to it, where the iris meets the sclera, which is the white of the eye. Let's take my paper towel to soften it even. Really, again, working that dark into the paper. Now coming in with the white chalk. Now, so what the white chalk does is that it gives me, these are actually white charcoal pencils from Generals. I like them better than pastel pencils, because pastel pencils tend to, there's not a lot of integrity to the lead where you can leave a mark and it'll sit. They tend to, as soon as they touch the paper, they tend to dust out. There's not the binder, I think, for the white within the white chalk or within the white charcoal is a lot stronger than the binder that they use for pastels, which is a gum arabic. And maybe they use a certain type of gum arabic that holds the stroke a little bit better, holds the lead a little bit better. Within the white charcoal, I'm not sure. I asked them once what the material was, and they wouldn't tell me. They said it was a proprietary family recipe. So I was like, that's cool. So thinking about how the overturn of the eye pulls in, and I'm pretty expressive with the white chalk in the very beginning. Just thinking about the areas that I had in my head from earlier that were a little bit lighter, and then thinking about cross-contouring the forms as well from where I see them. And I know that, again, that underplane of the eye, the canthus or waterline, is a lot lighter. And so I'm going to come in here and think about what is the edge of that waterline, of that ledge right in there. And how does that interact with the sclera, with the white of the eye? Coming in here, softening that out. And you can see I'm very expressive. But what this white charcoal does is that it gets me to those values that are higher than a 5, right? So the 5 being toned paper, we can only get mid-toned is our lightest light. So now we can get values 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 based around how we layer the white chalk on here. And so at this point, because we have that kind of center point, which I love that the old masters did this beautifully, especially like Prud'homme, was that you kind of had this center point that you could pull light and then you could pull dark. And so the fact that they were masters of using toned paper and getting a full range of subtle tonality with white chalk and charcoal and toned paper is pretty amazing. I've learned so much by looking at those drawings of Prud'homme's that were in the Met. The Metropolitan has a drawing room that has a card catalog that you could literally pull out the cards, and you used to be able to bring them up to the librarian, and she would bring you out the drawings. And so I did a lot of studies there when I was in I guess post college, when I was at the Art Students League studying there. I would go there on my lunch breaks and just study drawings all the time. I love drawing. Thinking about how this edge turns. I'm going to speed up a little bit here because we have 33 minutes left in the demo of the drawing, and I kind of want to get to some more finishings type stuff. And guys, if you guys have any questions about how I draw the eyes or the materials that I'm using, feel free to leave a comment. Thinking about that edge right there. Not putting a lot of pressure on, but also going, again, over that edge. Now, I make sure that my pencils are extremely sharp when I'm doing this. It's just so much easier when you have a sharp pencil to get a really beautiful, crisp line. And so I used, this one I used the AFMAT pencil sharpener, which is an electric pencil sharpener. I used the AFMAT electric pencil sharpener that got me, that I used in the pencil showdown, the pencil sharpener showdown. It was the winner of it. Actually, the hand carved one was the winner. So actually I take the AFMAT and then I carve it with a little bit of sandpaper at the end. Coming over to this edge and brightening up that edge as well. Kind of giving some context to the drawing. Going to kind of speed through here a little bit. Coming over to these edges. Now I'm layering my white chalk a lot. So I do two different types of layering. I do a kind of controlled cross contouring hatch over areas, and then I do a veil hatch. The veil hatch is something that I do if I want a whole area lighter or darker, is I just hit it with a whole bunch of lines that kind of loosely follow the holistic form, the overall form of something. But then if I want to get like a subtlety to a form, I start to come in and it's a little bit more specialized. My hatch stroke kind of follows that sense of form. And again, I still use the blending stumps to create the darks as well. Do you guys think I should, I'm thinking about maybe doing an alla prima painting of this eye, maybe later this week. That'd be kind of fun. I have, I've set up my studio now where I don't have any bounce really from the easel, quote unquote, as I'm filming. And in the alla prima video, I had a little bit of bounce. So now I don't have bounce. The camera needs to stay in the same spot. So I'm getting heavier tripods now. Thinking about that sense of form, not thinking about eyelashes or anything like that quite yet, but thinking about if I squint, are the eyelashes kind of creating a value that I want to capture? So I'm thinking about what that value would be and what the direction of that form and what that would be, as opposed to thinking about individual hairs and eyelashes. That's a little crazy to be able to get every single eyelash or hair. So I make little notes as I go. I don't think anyone's looking at your drawings looking for eyelashes, hopefully. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Coming in and getting that waterline a little bit better. Softening up this edge with the white chalk. Again, a very sharp charcoal pencil. Or white charcoal pencil is what they call it. Coming into the iris a little bit, and that edge of the sclera, where that edge is almost non-existent. It's very, very subtle. So I'm going over it with the white chalk. Kind of redefine some of the dark in the upper lid. I'm going to speed through this just a little bit. It just slowly, everything builds on itself as we work. So coming in here to the side, just want to get some of the ear in. Again, broadly blocking in the sense of form. Coming in with the white charcoal again. Developing that. A little bit more progress here. Developing a little bit more of the side of the cheek. So using that really sharp charcoal pencil right here, white charcoal pencil, to start to develop a little bit more of the subtlety. And this being only about a 50-minute drawing, you guys can see how much further we can take this, where we can get into starting to develop the brow, thinking about the light that's kind of peeking through within the brow, it's light that's hitting the hairs of the brow. Not thinking, again, individually. I'm squinting a lot at what's going on with the brow and getting the rhythm of it. getting into that highlight a little bit better with some fresher white. Softening up the sclera, especially where it hits that edge of the iris. Again, using these blending tortillons as drawing tools. So redefining what that waterline is doing, what the canthus is doing. Really getting a sense of the texture of the skin with the strokes of the charcoal. Really important. Getting more of the subtlety. I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit. Getting in some of the ear. And then coming in for some of the last strokes here. Coming in and developing, I see some light coming in that upper brow. Again, very sharp General's white charcoal pencil. Highly recommend those. It's really odd for me not to draw both eyes at the same time. I usually, if I'm working on one eye, I work on the other eye so that they're unified. And rendering one eye at a time is interesting for me. It's a little different. I hope that you guys have learned a little bit from this quick 20-minute or so lesson here. If you guys love this content or like this content, please like and subscribe, share with your friends. I'm hoping to do more of these videos in the near future. I'm having kind of fun setting up the studio to do them. And thanks everybody for the support. Recently got a lot of support through Patreon. A great way to support this channel is to join the Patreon. It's only $5 a month. I think it's about $60 a year. There's other options where you can support more, $10 a month, whatever you think is cool. If you think the value is there, I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. And thanks again. Paint well. Cheers.